Hi, I'm Kenzie from Raw, and I'm here to interview Summer Jones, who is running for Vice President of Welfare and Campaigns in the upcoming SU spring elections. Hello, Summer. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for being here.
So firstly, what are your key priorities?
So my key priorities are firstly affordability. I think campus life on campus can be really expensive. I think that's to do with food. I think everyone should have access to food they can afford on campus. And I think also to do with transport and yeah. And then my other ones are to do with health and well-being. I think there should be more resources and funding going to mental health provisions at university. I know I have had personal experience with long waiting lists, and I think people need to have adequate mental health support. I also think it would be good to have sexual and reproductive health testing on campus. I think that's really important. Um, my other priorities are empowering students. So I want to run Know Your Rights workshops to make sure students know their rights and can challenge abuses of power, and provide more funding for student campaigns and really get involved with what students want, have their actual feedback. And then I guess liberation. I really want to work with, I've been a part-time officer for the past year. So I'd really like to collaborate with part-time officers on campaigns that are important to their communities. And obviously lobby the SU and the university to commit to ethical partnerships, ethical investments, and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. So following on from what you've already kind of mentioned, how will you seek to improve mental health and well-being provision on campus?
I think a really important thing is lobbying for more funding. I mean, we've seen with Nightline, for example, the Nightline Association closing down. So I think really lobbying for more funding and resources. Obviously, that's a wonderful like volunteer-led thing, but we do have institutional infrastructure. I think that's also meeting with students and getting their opinions, because I know that some people have had really good experiences with well-being, but I know especially a lot of people from marginalized communities, they don't have as good experiences. They don't feel like the people there are knowledgeable enough on the issues that affect them. So I think that's really important. Um, I guess I would also say I think we need more sexual violence advisors and even independent advisors that people feel like they can really open up to. So I think it's just focusing on what I guess the students need to help them. I think it's resources. Resources is always a tricky thing, but I think there's also some wonderful like programs that happen around the country that we could look to get more integrated into our well-being. For example, there's one to do with like trans well-being and mental health that UCL have integrated into their kind of like health and well-being. So, yeah.
Amazing. So, one of the SU's current campaigns is the End Period Poverty campaign. Is there any ways that you think this campaign could be further improved and enhanced?
Yeah, I think the End Period Poverty campaign is a really great campaign, really useful. I think to enhance it or improve it, I would say, firstly, I think getting more reusable products would be a good thing. I was running a stall at Sexual Health and Guidance Fair Festival recently, and all the reusable products that they had ran out. So there's definitely an interest in that, and I think that's also good for sustainability. I also think it's really important to kind of widen where we put these products. I think it would be good to have key dispensers in certain locations. I also think accessible toilets, um, they should definitely be in there. You know, everyone uses accessible toilets. Some buildings don't have gender neutral toilets. Um, and then I suppose, I think another thing that ties into that is just more guidance, advice, and testing again for like sexual and reproductive health. So kind of widening that to that whole kind of purpose. Um, I think that'd be really good for students, you know, maybe having talks from like gynecologists, having like people on campus that you can go to about, you know, sexual and reproductive health.
Yeah. So how would you ensure the welfare of students that may be suffering through the cost of living crisis?
I think this is a really big issue. It hasn't gone away at all. I think that, and as well, I think it can be kind of hard with well-being services or just like mental health services in general, because these are kind of issues that, like, in a way, can't be solved through talking about them. They're like structural issues. So I think really it would be trying to work on the issue of the cost of living crisis to kind of alleviate that stress, because that permeates like every section of your life. So on food, I'd like for there to be community food bank fridges around campus that could have surplus food from any of the venues that are around campus. I'd like to work to reduce the cost of buses and the cost of public transport, because so many students rely on it and it is just getting more and more expensive every year. Kind of the same to do with rent. The rent for on-campus accommodation has risen drastically over the years, even since, I'm a fourth year. Hearing now freshers that have joined the university how much they're paying compared to how much I was, even, it's shocking. So I'd want to campaign for a rent freeze and rent caps. And yeah, I just think as well, food is a massive one. I think, like, I'd really like to replace Roots Grocery with an actually affordable supermarket for people on campus. And yeah, I don't know. Also, there's so many things in affordability. I think as well, to kind of things that help with your mental health, right, are like, can be, getting involved in sports and societies. And there's still a barrier to that. I have many friends, especially with sport. It's a massive barrier how much it costs to join. So I'd really like to work towards reducing federation fees and also having more free sessions. Like, I know there's the like rock up and play and stuff, which is good. I think it would be great to widen that to more activities. But yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Are there any ways in which student safety could be further improved or prioritized by the student union?
Yeah, I think it definitely could. I think it's more than the student union, but it needs to be kind of like all round. I think in terms of, like, for example, community safety, I think there's quite a big issue with that and the way they respond to safety and well-being call outs and concerns. I do not think people that are in charge of security should also be attending to sensitive welfare issues. I think those roles should be completely separate. There needs to be a level of care and just a certain demeanor about the whole thing. I think the same kind of to do with club night security. I think we really need to work on better welfare at these events. And I think, like, from the people I've spoken to, community safety doesn't really make them feel safe. They more feel policed by it. So I think we really need to work on having that, pastoral care around campus, but not in a securitizing way. Yeah, I also just think, like, obviously the work we've done on lighting is good. But I think transport and buses, I think safety of students getting home if they go to places like Coventry, obviously with the also removal of West Midlands Bus on Demand, I think transport and experiences with that is something to work on. Also, there's been the suggestion before of like the Safe Zone app where you can, reach out to friends, have that on there, be ready to like alert. But I think more it's like a culture of care within university. I think all these things are great on top, but really you need that foundation of like feeling,
Culture of care within, yeah, all these things are great on top of like feeling.
Yeah. Okay, so you've already mentioned a lot of the things that you're quite passionate about. So what would be sort of the key campaigns that you're looking to run over the next year?
I would say probably to do with I think my key campaigns are affordability on campus and campus life, mental health support, especially for marginalized groups, making sure our campaigns are accessible and everyone feels included, because I know certain groups, for example, disabled students, feel way less supported by their students' union. And then I think focusing on students knowing their rights, us really listening to their feedback with campaigns, and pushing for stuff they've already asked for. Students have asked for, ethical partnerships, divestment, etc., a right to food for the community. And we just really need to be pushing forward those motions that are backed by the student body.
Absolutely. So finally, what makes you stand out from the other candidates for welfare officer?
To be honest, I think it's I've had a really diverse experience. I think that I've already been involved in the SU a lot, and being a part-time officer has really got me involved in how to represent communities and how to engage with them, get them to come together for workshops, get to hear their feedback. I also think because I've had certain experiences, for example, with mental health, neurodiversity, accessibility, I have ideas on how to push those things forward and from lived experience understand different communities. So yeah, I think I find it really important to listen to those who we're representing, and I think I've been doing that in a lot of my roles, from being a part-time officer to working in societies. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Summer, for your time, and good luck in your campaign.
Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm.